So what mistakes then do comics make?
Uh, Look, I think it depends what level. It depends what level you're at. I think if you're a really young comic starting out, I think the mistake you can make is by feeling trying to cross lines, trying to cross the steps or try to skip steps. Again, we are a comedy club that is big on development. So we're the kind of club where if you got to put in the work. If you're a young comic, we want you to go through our late night system. We want you to go through our check spots. We want you to go through the steps because we're one of these clubs where once you're in, you're in. A lot of clubs will be funny about that. A lot of clubs the term is called pass. A lot of clubs you'll get past that, but then like a month later, they'll stop booking you.
Wait, what does pass that mean?
Pass means that you are now officially on rotation.
Okay.
So every club wants to get passed. Or I'm sorry, every comic wants to get passed. Like that's their goal. I want to get passed at that club.
Yeah.
Once you're passed, you become a paid regular, and then you get into rotation, and you're basically going to get your spots pretty regularly. So a lot of times for us, we'll have a young comic who wants to work with us, and the biggest mistake they can do with us is be like, yeah, but I'm getting all these spots at this other club. And to us, we don't care. We're like, that's great, but this is how we do it, right?
Yeah. Are they saying because the times will conflict?
What's that?
Are they saying that because they think the times will conflict?
No, it has nothing to do with the times. It's just, they have a bit of an ego, or they feel like, hey, if I'm performing here, why can't I perform there? Or like, I don't get it. Like, I'm past at this club, and this is a really great club. Why can't I get past at your club?
Oh, they're saying it as a sales pitch almost.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, all right. It's their resume.
So for us, the biggest mistake as a comic is to have that kind of attitude.
Okay.
And also you want to treat the staff well. You want to be someone who's easy to work with. Again, when we work with a comic, man, we're looking at 20 different things. Is this comic funny? Are they going to work within our current lineups? Are they going to fit with our lineups? Are they going to be good as staff? Are they going to be on time? Are they going to cancel on us? That's the other thing, canceling. Comics cancel all the time. And a lot of times a comic, and again, it doesn't happen much anymore with us, but we know when a comic is canceling because they got a last second spot at the Comedy Cellar. And the reality is the Comedy Cellar is the #1 shop in town. The Cellar is a behemoth, and I love the Cellar. I'm friends with people at the Cellar. Liz, who runs the Cellar, she's not the owner, but she runs it, is a very good friend of mine. We have a great relationship with the Cellar. I think the reason why us and the Cellar have a great relationship is because we don't try to be them and they're not us. Like we do things very differently. But the reality is, if you get passed at the Cellar, it is a big deal for comedians, right? So a lot of times, we'll have comics who started with us, and then we notice they become less available, or they will have to cancel last second, And so for us, if that happens, we're just not going to book you because our view is, hey,
there's not depend on them anymore.
There's a lot more other comics out there. You know what I mean?
How does a comic lose their pass? Is unreliability the main way?
It's not like you're not passed here anymore. That doesn't really ever happen.
I'm not saying necessarily with your club, but just generally speaking.
Well, in general, I don't think it's like, oh, hey, you're no longer passed here.
Yeah.
But it has happened where if you don't see a comic for a while, or let's say they moved to LA or they're just not around anymore. Yeah, if you don't see them for a while and they haven't been booked for a while, there is kind of like a new kind of reintroduction into the club. Also, comics absolutely fucking lose their minds when there's a new booker. Because every club has a booker, and most bookers have comics that they prefer. And then when you change bookers, that new booker, it's like getting a new GM. That new booker might have different taste. So when we switched bookers a few years ago, everyone was losing their minds. But luckily, we're very good though at as an organization as like kind of keeping everything in house. Like we always have multiple bookers. We always have people that can kind of step up if someone else were to leave or if someone weren't around anymore. So yeah, like again, I think if you're a comic, that's where you can really, fuck up by just being arrogant and being just unpleasant. Unless you get to the point where you're big enough where you can do that. But the irony is the biggest comics in the world are the ones that are the most pleasant, and a lot of times Bill Burr's like the nicest guy to deal with.